offering my loving pranams at the lotus feet of our beloved Bhagwan. Greetings to one and all on this auspicious occasion of Buddha Purnima. Revered elders, sisters and brothers. Sometime in the middle of March, our Vice Chancellor had rung up to me to discuss some official matters. It was the holy day. And very lovingly he inquired, how did you all celebrate Holi in your campus? I said, sir, the day Bhagwan comes to Vrindavan, that day will be our Holi, our Ugadi, our Ram Navami, and what you call it. To be with the Lord is a moment of celebration. And no moment is ordinary. Just a few minutes back, we tasted the elixir of singing the divine name in the presence of the Lord. He is himself directing the tempo of the bhajans. His glance on the students who sing the bhajans charges them up, and through them the vibrations spread to every nook and corner of this hall, and everybody feels it. Many years ago, I recall, when the great saint of India, Ramana Maharshi, was still alive, he had become very old. One day he called two of his disciples and he said, go to Puttaparthi and meet Bhagwan Sri Sathya Sai Baba. On the instructions of their master, they came to Prashanti Nilayam. They spent a number of days in Puttaparthi, and because of their orthodoxy, they had diet restrictions. One of the devotees, elderly lady devotees in the ashram, was asked to take care of their meals. And very dutifully she was serving them. And in the course of their interaction, they also exchanged spiritual notes. And the lady would ask them how those great monks would spend their time, and they said most of the time they were meditating, and when they were not meditating, they would be praying for the world. And their prayers would reach to all people in distress and would motivate people who are around them to take up some service activities which would help those distressed people. It was a big surprise to these monks that people in Puttaparthi were not doing any great sadhana except perhaps morning, evening singing bhajans in Swami's presence. So they were very surprised. They said, is that all that you do? Yes. How is it? We do not know. This is what Swami has guided us. If you want, you can ask Bhagwan himself. So they asked, when they got a chance, they asked Bhagwan, Swami, why is it that there are so many people here in the ashram, but they do only bhajans and they don't seem to be doing any other great intense sadhana? Then what Swami said was very significant. He said, they have done enough tapas in their previous lives. If they do bhajan now, it is sufficient. The name of the Lord, we do not realize, is a very potent medicine. The great Saint Tulsidas says, Ram naam mani deep dharu, jih tehri dwar, tulsi bhitar bahiro, jo chahasi ujiyar. The name of the Lord is like the lamp which you keep at the threshold of your doorstep if you want both the inside and the outside to be illuminated, it benefits the one who sings the name of the Lord. It benefits also those who are in the immediate vicinity and who have the great privilege of unconsciously at least listening to that name. In this context, I am reminded of a very elderly devotee in New Delhi. She was a South Indian lady and only knew her mother tongue. They used to have satsang in their locality, and very promptly every week she would be there for the satsang. And generally the satsang would be in the language Hindi, which was quite prevalent in those regions. The relations of this lady would say, "What is this? You don't understand one word of Hindi. Why is it that you go every week and spend hours together in that satsang?" Then this lady remarked, and what she said reveals her devotion. She said, "I may not understand anything what they say, but throughout the satsang they keep on telling Swami, Sai Baba, Sai Baba." They keep on uttering that. It keeps reminding me of Swami. That itself is sufficient for me. The name of the Lord is very, very important. Quite a few Buddhist devotees are here. Yesterday I had the privilege of hearing one of their experiences, beautiful experiences. It was late 60s. And this elderly devotee, he is about 60 now. His friend had just returned from Puttaparthi. And he was naturally excited, and Swami had gifted him with a ring, and he was sharing, outpouring his devotional fervor. That night, this Buddhist devotee had just heard that there is somebody called Sai Baba in Puttaparthi. And that night, when he went to sleep, he had a vision. The first time he heard about Sai Baba, he had a vision. What is the vision? He found that there was a huge jhula, a swing. The ropes were almost 80 meters high. And on the jhula, on the platform, were 2 feet, blue in color. And he saw those feet and immediately recognized them as the feet of Mahavishnu. And he kept raising his eyes and beheld the beautiful form, and the entire form of the Lord was right in front of him, the legs, the hands, the Shankha, Chakra, Gada, Padma. And finally he came to where the torso is, and there he found the face of Bhagwan. He realized that day that Bhagwan is none other than Mahavishnu. This is the experience of a Buddhist devotee of today's times. Let me tell what Buddha himself had to say about Bhagwan, because these are revelations which, when we are at the lotus feet, sometime Bhagwan tells us. And only he can tell us, because he is in the past, he is in the present, and he is in the future. He transcends time. He is the timeless one. One day Buddha was going, spreading his message. He was tired that day. So he called one of his disciples. He said, "Today I take some rest. You speak to the people." And this disciple of Buddha was very excitedly talking about Buddha, about his message. And then finally, towards the end of his talk, he said, "There has never been in the past nor will there ever be in the future a personality like the Buddha. And the people there, they were so happy and so delighted, and everybody started clapping. And Buddha was inside taking rest. He heard the claps and he was curious. So he came out and he inquired with his disciple, "What did you say? What is it which has excited the public so much?" And he said, "Master, this is what I said, that there was never a personality like you in the past, nor will there ever be in the future." Then Buddha said, "What is your age?" He was somewhere around 30s. "How many countries have you visited?" He mentioned about 2 nations of those times in India. He said, "These 2 states I have visited." Then Buddha said, "So limited is your knowledge. How can you make a statement like that? On what basis do you make a statement like that?" And then Buddha said, "There will come a time in the future where the divinity will come down in human form." And he referred to the Sai incarnation. It was the first time, for the first time, to the disciples and the devotees of Buddha, this revelation was made, and Swami himself revealed it to us many years ago. We Buddhists have a very favorite prayer. Buddham sharanam gacchami, dharmam sharanam gacchami, sangham sharanam gacchami. Bhagwan, in his own inimitable way, has given us beautiful insights on this message of the Buddha. Buddham sharanam gacchami. I take refuge in the Buddha. Who's the Buddha? The Buddha is the symbol of the buddhi, the illumined intellect. Buddhi grahyam atindriyam. It is beyond the senses. If you recall the famous dialogue between the little child Nachiketa with Lord Yama, he explains the human system like a chariot. The senses are like the horses. The mind is represented by the reins. And the charioteer is the buddhi. And the jivi is the individual soul. And if you recall again the famous image of the Bhagavad Gita message, who is in the position of the charioteer? It is the Lord himself. The buddhi is a manifestation of the divine. The illumined intellect guides the individual in the spiritual path and also in his worldly affairs. It is the voice of God. The voice of God, which Swami says, it is only in the midst of silence that we hear. That silence has to be cultivated. When we take refuge in that buddhi, then we go to the next stage, taking refuge in the dharma. Dharma is action, righteous action. Some days ago, one of our elders was conversing with Bhagwan. He had spoken to our students. And he was expressing to Bhagwan, Bhagwan, in life, many times a situation comes when the choice is not really between good and bad. The choice is between bad and bad. And that is where the real dilemma comes. Now, he expressed it, of course, in his own human way. But then, What Bhagavan said was very significant. It was very soft, but it was very significant. He said, it is not like that. If you discriminate deeply, you will get the light. You will realize what you have to do. In any action, Swami himself, no matter in what situation, he may be with a small boy, he may be with the head of a state, we cannot find him uttering a wrong word or doing a wrong act. For him, everybody is equal. Some are small boys, some are big boys, as he says. I recall this particular incident happened many years ago. The head of state of one of the foreign countries directly landed in India, directly landed in Puttaparthi. It was Bhagwan's 60th birthday year. Now we all know in our tradition, whenever we go to a holy being, generally people take something as an offering. And this person, the head of his own country, had brought on the occasion of Bhagwan's 60th birthday 60 gold coins to offer to Swami. Swami is the emperor of emperors. Does he need that? But he brought it with his own feeling. In his private audience with Bhagwan, Swami, the teacher that he is, as I said, for him there's nobody small, nobody big. He is equal for all. He asked him one simple question. In those days, it's not like today. Those days, there were very strict control over the gold flows, internally and externally. Swami asked him, have you disclosed it to the government? He said, Swami, for the first time in my life, somebody has taught me like this. And he started crying, and then Swami said, when you go to Delhi, you tell the Prime Minister what I told you. Swami is the teacher of even Prime Ministers and Presidents. The next day we read in the newspaper, a journalist asked him, you met Sai Baba for the first time. What is your experience? He said one statement which was quoted, in life one never stops learning. In life one never stops learning. And that is what we imbibe when we are in the presence of Swami. Every moment he is teaching us, big and small, young and old. He has come as the Satya Bodhaka, as he says, the teacher of truth. How to lead our life, how to be and how not to be. Because at any other time, maybe it would have been difficult. But when the avatar comes, his contemporaries are uniquely fortunate. Because it is like a tidal wave which has swept the land. And when the tidal wave comes, whether you like it or you don't like it, if you are in the vicinity, you get drenched. The only thing that you need to do is to come to him. When you hear him, to be inspired by his message. And not merely to be inspired, but to translate that inspiration into action. And that is where the third stage of Buddha's message comes. Sangham Sharanam Gacchami. The divine that we feel within ourselves, that sacred feeling has to be spread all around. The other day, on Trai Vrindavan Day, all devotees who were assembled here in Trai Vrindavan were witness to a beautiful sight. Students, Sevadal, devotees, young and old, men and women, all were involved in lighting up the whole of Vrindavan with those small little lamps. One person lighting another lamp, another lamp, another lamp, and the whole place was lit up. What a wonderful, glorious sight. It was like heaven on earth for all to see. One Swami said, how do you express your gratitude to me? How do you express your gratitude to me? You have learned so much from me. You have received so much from me. What do you do to express your gratitude? He said, go and share your joy and love with 10 others. That is your gratitude to me. Share your joy. Let us create a Vrindavan or a Prashanti Nilayam wherever we go. That would be the true Sangham Sharanam Gacchami. On this very memorable Buddha Purnima occasion, when Swami blessed us so much, in the morning he sat for such a long time and we had the delightful bhajans even today. On behalf of all of us, I take this opportunity of expressing our great joy in being in Bhagwan's vicinity on this auspicious occasion and pray that we imbibe his message and take it with us wherever we go. Jai Sai Ram.